Okay, the recorder has, let me just double check. Yep. So the recorder has started. So again, hello and welcome. Today's session, just to be sure you're in the right presentation room, is visual drag and drop scheduling for your Dynamics NAV jobs and field service. So this is the one on jobs and field service. I have other sessions that cover the NAV manufacturing. Now, just to be sure you know, my name is Rick Baxter, company's cost control software out of Carmel, Indiana. So I'm in Indiana doing this presentation. A lot of times people like to know, where are you calling from? Well, anyway, so Indiana. And just so you know a little bit more about me, I kind of help the Dynamics NAV users and resellers, maybe like yourself, get the most from your software. That's my mission, and my mission today certainly is to make sure you know about scheduling of your Dynamics NAV jobs and service orders. We're going to be using Planner One Resource Planner, and I'm going to show it to you in what I call 4 easy steps. Okay, so, and I know some of you might be on this call to evaluate the software for purchase or addition to your business, and I'm certainly hoping that that's why you're here. And if I do a good job, then you'll probably want to contact me and pursue this a little further. Now, when you registered, I did ask what people wanted to hear today. And so I did get some feedback, and I just want you to know I had quite a few requests for service management and how this interfaces with service management. So I'm going to cover that. Several about the visualization. What does that mean to visualize the scheduling in NAV, and a lot of drag and drop scheduling as well. So I'm going to be sure we cover all of those things from your initial requests. You see in front of you the study guide. This was sent to you by Ben earlier this morning. You should have a copy of it. You might be able to pull, and I say might because it doesn't seem to always work, but there is a handout section in the GoToWebinar, and you might be able to pull the a copy of this study guide that I'll be using today. My goal is pretty simple. I want to provide an excellent software presentation. So I want you to really understand what this software is, how it works, what it does. That's very important. And also help you decide if you should purchase this product. I'll kind of assume that's why you're here, is part of this software evaluation. This will take about 60 minutes. I've tried to do this in less, and then I don't do a good job. So I want to take my time and really give a nice presentation. So sit back, relax. This will take a little time to kind of get through the concepts, and I'm going to spend most of my time in the software itself. And I break the agenda into 3 parts. One is why electronic scheduling. And so I kind of show it to you in 4 easy steps. And then 2, I'm going to do a little planning board orientation, so you know what information is on the planning board and how you read the planning boards and move around. So this will be a little bit of training as well on the product. And then certainly how you can learn more. So it's important to me to know, so that you know what the steps are to learn more. Now, I want to be real clear on the purpose. Let's go back here just a little. On the purpose of scheduling. A lot of people kind of misinterpret what a schedule is all about. The MRP in your NAV jobs and job manager, for those of you that have job manager, really helps you know what to make or what service to provide. It helps you know when to make it, how much to make, what materials are required from your estimating process, what resources are required from the planning lines, and also looks at job profitability, which is revenue minus cost. That's on a given job, is the job profitability. That's all on the job side. Now, Planner One's Resource Planner, its mission's a little bit different. It's how best to make it, what sequence to take In other words, what tasks are assigned to people. Are there priorities or constraints or conflicts that we have to be aware of? Maybe you've assigned a task to two different people at the same time, and that just can't be done. We'd want to be notified of that conflict, monitoring those exceptions, and then managing the changes. Now, one last point before we jump into the actual software is, do you even need a scheduling tool? A lot of people come here thinking, oh, I just absolutely need a scheduling tool. And when I do a little interview with them, it becomes kind of apparent that they really don't need a scheduling tool. So let me just point out where I kind of think the break point is. And so if you have, let's say, 50 jobs in your system, in your NAV software, and each job has 20 tasks, that's 1,000 open activities. To try and manually schedule 1,000 activities by hand or in Excel, I think is ridiculous. It can't be done. So absolutely, that's a minimum breakpoint. Sometimes I've seen it, maybe you only have 10 tasks per job. That's still 500 open activities. That's a lot of activities to keep to schedule. Who's assigned to what task? When are they going? How long is it going to take? When do they do back? All that kind of stuff. We want that to be shown visually on the scheduling board. And where are your field techs compared to the job site? It would be nice to see visually, maybe on a map, where your technicians are located if you have a job out in the field. So I'll show you a little picture of how that works today. We'll get into that. And what happens if Bob is suddenly out sick today? So if somebody is sick, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. There we go. So if Bob's suddenly sick, what do you do? How do you indicate to everybody that he is sick? What are you going to do? And people often ask, when is job number 29 going to finish? Or when's it going to start? You want to be able to see visually on a planning board, very graphically, that activity. And so that's why we post from NAV into the Planner One software. And how do you share this schedule with your staff? If you don't have a good way of scheduling the information, it becomes pretty awkward to share the schedule with your staff. So I'm going to show you solutions to all these things as we go through the software. So the way I like to do this demonstration is kind of in workflow order. In other words, the order in which you would probably use the software if you had it installed at your office. So there's 4 basic steps, pretty straightforward. And I'm going to start with jobs. So first thing you're going to do is add a new job. Now, if you're the scheduler on this call, you may not be the person that's adding new jobs to the software. Somebody else may add that new jobs, whether the job is added manually from a sales order, from a sales quote. There's many ways to add jobs to the system. I think I'll add one today just manually. And then we want to plan that in Resource Planner, and we want to set that to yes, because maybe not all jobs are to be scheduled. So there's an option down here. I'm going to go and do this live in just a second, so that you just set this job as with a check mark to saying yes, and then it will automatically set that job up to be scheduled. You may not want to schedule every single job. You may have some in-house jobs that don't really need to be scheduled like your like other jobs. So let me see here, and okay, I'm going to come back to that. So let's go do this. So I want to do the first step, and I'm going to move this study guide out of the way, and let's go into our jobs. Now, the one thing I did find is, and I apologize, I don't have a way to get this screen much bigger than what it is. So it's pretty small. So just kind of, I hope you can see this okay on your computer or on your projector or wherever you're kind of watching this presentation. Try to stretch the screen as big as you can so it fits on the screen as big as you can. I'm going to grab a drink of water. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is add a new job. I'm going to add a job under 1003. This is my master job. These are some sub jobs that I've got down here within this job. That makes a project. And the estimates and the actual costs are all shown here on the right side within the way, at least the way I designed my screens. Okay, so I'm going to add a new job. So I just simply come up here to new. By the way, it's going to be 100307. Okay, so I'm going to say new. And when you'd ask it for new, you'll get a kind of a little pop-up here that says, here's the blank job card. I just press enter on mine. You may do this a little differently. It brings up a list of your master jobs here, the projects. And I said I was going to use this 1003. I'll press enter. And so it is putting this in. It's a resource job. And it's going to be for a conveyor. So my job, and I don't want to get too deep into what the job is because everybody in the call typically has a kind of a different environment as far as what you might use jobs for. And I'm going to skip through this date warning because my sample date's a little different. Okay, and I want to make this a order job. So the first thing I'm going to do is make the status order so that it is ready to start processing and posting cost. Now, remember we talked about one of the things you wanted was analyzing profitability, or at least to know what the cost is. So you'll notice on this job that I've just added, it already shows some cost over here. Shop hours, it's got some shop labor costs, field labor costs, it's got some material costs, it's got the totals, but it doesn't have any actuals yet because this job is just getting started, right? So, and the other thing that you want to be sure in this first step is that it's set to plan in Resource Planner. I'm going to write that job number down. That's 1003-07 to be sure I'm in the right place. Let me put that on a different piece of paper here. 1003-07. Okay. So this job's all set up. It's now been added to our job list. Back here on the master job list, you'll see here's this new job for this conveyor system. It's got its estimates, so perfect, all set up. Now, so that's kind of the first step, but it really isn't even a step, because if you think about it, this is not what the scheduler does. The scheduler's not the person that adds in a new job. So for the scheduler, the work really starts on step number 2. Oh, there's one more thing I want to show you here about setting this job up, and that's the planning lines. I do need to mention the planning lines. Some of you may already know some of this, but I just want to be sure. So let's be sure. So I'm going to come back to our scheduling choice. Now I've added a new choice up here called scheduling. I want you to see that on my screen. You probably do not have a choice called scheduling, but I imagine you have a choice, or somehow you can get to your list of work activities. Okay, they will be different than mine. I have things like engineering and CAD, designers, I've got cutting, I've got machining, I've got painting, so those are the work activities that people do, as well as the number of hours that we're estimating these. And I could edit the planning lines and make changes to my estimate. I'm not going to do that in this presentation, but I am going to point out one very important part here. And that is, next to these dates, these are the begin dates and finish dates on each of these work activities. This is what has been calculated within the job system, within Job Manager. But you'll notice over here on the right, we've got some scheduled hours, scheduled start, scheduled finish, and previous job task. These are all blank right now. I'm going to fill that in with from Planner 1 and the previous job task because I want these to be chronological. In other words, we do cutting first, then machining, then welding, then we paint, then we assemble. So this is the steps in the sequence in which I do the work. Okay, now I'm assuming those of you that do want to schedule, you would want to schedule kind of chronologically, okay, in sequence. So what I do is I say generate predecessor links. This goes ahead and creates for me automatically. Now I can change these. I can edit any of these values and change how the previous one is because maybe you want to do some in parallel. I've got them all basically sequential, and with an in start, the ES is an in start relationship, and the -A means it's fixed between the two. So if one gets delayed, the successor is also going to get delayed. Okay, I'll show you that when we get into the software. So now the scheduled hours, these are going to come back once I publish. So you'll see me publish here in a little bit. Okay, so I think I've got that set. Let me see if there was anything else I want to mention on this outline. So I ran the schedule and I edited the lines. Oh yeah, there is one more thing I do want to mention this. So on the scheduling, okay, if those of you on the call, I know many of you on the call probably use your Dynamics NAV software and the job software, and you probably are familiar with planning lines. So we've created this split screen, which lets me see the task up here and the planning lines down here. For example, on the engineering CAD work, I've got Doug McIntosh assigned for 20 hours to do this work because scheduling is all about hours. We don't schedule tons and quantities and grams of materials. We're scheduling time. So it's always this time that is important for us and who specifically is doing that work. So we know the planning date, that's the date the work's going to start, and we know the number of hours. So therefore we could expand the sticker on the board, the planning sticker, to indicate that number of 20 hours. You'll see that here in just a minute for Doug. Okay, so this is now pretty, let me see before I leave this screen again, see if there's anything else. So we've set plan and resource planner to yes, we've done that. That is all set. Our service lines, oh, yes. Okay, so part of this presentation, I did want to show you a little bit about service management as well before we actually create activities. So let's go and do that as well. So I've got this new job set up. I've got the 100307 that's set up, but I want to go into service orders as well. So for those of you that use the service order management system, here's the service calls that are out there because this one piece of software can do both and do it both simultaneously. It can schedule your jobs and your service orders or your service orders depending on which way you do it. So let's in fact on this one, I think what I'll do just to save a little time here, I just going to review this existing order. This is order number 17, service order 17. Okay, and let's see who we've got assigned. This is the work. So we're doing we had a broken computer, please repair. That is the request from the customer, and it's service item number 48. And if I look at the lines, yeah, okay, so we got Doug assigned again here. So he's a busy guy, 10 hours. Here's the planned date, 2/2/17. In fact, I'm going to make a note of that, 2/2/17. Now, my sample data is all over the board, unfortunately, so we'll do the best we can here with these dates, 2/2/17. Okay. And my work date is 2/5. Okay, so that's going to be really close. That's good. Okay, so that is set up, and that's where you set up a service order. Okay, you just add the header and you add the lines, and then on the order service lines, that's where you assign or the initial technician that you expect to go out and do the work. So you hopefully those of you on the call are familiar with that concept as well. Okay, so we've got from the order and the lines, we've got the technician assigned, and now we're ready to do what the scheduler would do. Okay, so I'm going to put my hat on that I'm now the scheduler, and I'm going to create what I call activities. Sometimes I refer to them as stickers on the planning board, but we have to create them. And so this is where the scheduler starts every morning. So the first thing the scheduler does in the morning, maybe even twice a day, comes in, he's going to look for new activities that need to be scheduled. So, and I put a lot of pictures in your study guide today so that you can kind of follow along and have examples to take back with you for later. Okay, so we're going to do this step number 2, which is to create the activity. So let's do this live. So I'm going to come back to the Role Center so you know where I'm doing these things from. I've added my Planner One resource planner to the menu right here. There it is, and it will open up my planning board. So give it just a second to open up on your screen. Here it comes. And I'm going to go to the Job Planner tab. Give it just a second to open up so you can see it too. There we go. Okay, so what it's doing, it's looking over at NAV and saying, oh my gosh, there's this service, there's this sales, new job 100307, and that looks like there's another job out. So there's 2 new jobs out there. Because I used the service order 17, the existing one, it didn't need to create a sticker for that. It already is there. But I'm going to go ahead and create the activities. And the concept of this screen, this is where the scheduler goes first thing in the morning, just so you kind of follow the workflow. He's going to say, what's not planned so far today? And so I've got some jobs that are completely planned and some jobs that are exceeding budget and so forth. But the ones that I've got to deal with are these ones that are not planned yet, especially our 100307. So I'm going to create activities. Watch what it does. It spins through here and it's creating activities for all of the work on there. So it's now done. 100307 has created stickers on the board, which you're going to see in a second. I think I'll go ahead and do this one too. I'm not sure what that one is. That was in there, so we'll get it planned as well. And now both those jobs are planned. Okay, so how do we verify that? Because it's always good to verify things that we say we're doing it. So I'm going to show you, there's several tabs. See these tabs across here? There's tabs here and there's tabs up here at the top. These are the 4 key tabs. These are the different views. First view is the job planner. Let's go to the job Gantt chart view. So this is a little orientation to the screen layouts here as you start to kind of learn to move around in the system. So in the resource planner. So here is my list of jobs. So down the left side, in fact, where's that one we just put in? Here it is right here, 100307. So it's in here along with all these other jobs. So these are all the jobs that are scheduled on the planning board, and a little orientation. I'm going to use my scroll bar just slightly here, and I wanted to see that job. Where did it put it on 13? Oh, I bet it did. Yeah, 18 February. Okay, well, I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so the way you read this board is these lines up here are indications of, this is a good one right here, indications of the start date and the finish date on your calendar, depending on your scale. Okay, you want to look at it per month, you click on the month view, and you can see it here the different jobs, and now I'm seeing it by month. You can see it by week, by day. If it's by day, look how detailed you can get. If you want to go down to the day level, then you can see your activities, 8 a.m., 6 a.m., boom, 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 in very detailed formats right on screen. Now you can also, for these jobs, I want to see this job we just created. Here's all the tasks, but I'm going to zoom out because I want to see where it positioned that. So that's 17, 18. Where to put it? I didn't check the dates very closely there. I bet it put it back in 16. Yep, sure enough, here it is. Okay, so I'd put it back actually 2015. So here's my job that we just created. These are the work activities. So this is that design, CAD work, designers, cutting, machining, welding. These are all the steps, and you can see if I zoom in a little bit here. There we go. You can see there's the work activities. The dates that they're going to occur is shown up here at the top. And this is for that one specific job. And you can collapse it. Okay, so here they are all on a single line. This indicates the start date of that job, and then it goes out to the end date of that job on the timeline. So the job was put back in 2015 and 2016 based on, I wasn't paying really very close attention to the dates. I'm sorry. Okay, so that is how it kind of looks by job. But then there's a second way to look at this information, and that's by resource. So that's this view. So this will be the third view you've seen. So now I've got, these are the activities on the board that are assigned to the people. Okay, so can be very specific to employees. This is my calendar across the top, the employees down the left side, or the machines that you're assigning the work activities to. And each of these little squares, rectangles, stickers, whatever you want to call them, those are the individual work activities. So I'm going to do one of the actions that's most requested is called move, being able to move the to be able to move these work activities. So with the drag and drop. So that's literally grabbing it and moving it and then dropping it on the date. So I typically go down the left side. This is the 14th. And so I'm moving that. This was assigned to labor pool. Let's take one here that's assigned to Ralph Henry. And let's say I want to move that back in time. So I'm now basically adjusting the start dates and the finish dates on these work activities. Or I could say I want to take this activity that's currently assigned to Ralph and reassign it to somebody else. Like Linda's got some open time here. I'm going to move that down and drop it here on the, looks like about the 13th, 14th. So you can literally do this visual, and if I zoom in a little bit, you can see this closer. And I should explain what these bars are. While I'm doing this, I'll kind of explain some of the layouts here. So these are the 11th and 12th, the 18th and 19th, those are the weekends. And then during the week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days during the week, these are the working periods of time based on that particular resource's calendar. So Linda works a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Okay, some machines might work 24/7. They might have all white space for that particular machine. So you can kind of change the capacities by setting the calendars. That's all done back in your calendars within your job system. Okay, so that's the first thing that I want you to kind of get the idea is is creating these new work activities on the screen. Very important to be able to do that. Then the third step is to do the move that we just did. Okay, you either approve the dates as they come in, because they come in according to the dates from the planning lines that you saw earlier, or you get to move the activities if needed. So you can drag and drop, reassign, make changes right on the planning board itself. And because what you're doing is really what's called a working plan. So it's not been published or it's not updated your NAV software yet. It is strictly changes that you're making on the planning board. It's a what if. A lot of people call it a what if schedule. And then once you're satisfied with it, then you run this publish function. I'll show that to you in a minute. And NAV does not see any of the changes until it's published. So until you actually push the publish button, or if you have it set automatic, I may have mine set. Let me just look. No, I've got mine set to manual. Okay. So once you hit publish, then it goes and it updates the job, and I'll show you where that goes. Now there is some security involved because you may not want to have everybody full access to be able to drag and drop things around. Just like I was moving things all over the place, you may not want your users to do that. So you can set up what are called viewers, and the viewer can view the plan, but that's it. All they can do is come in, they can open the board and look around and see what's going on, but they cannot change anything. Then you also have collaborators that are able to annotate with markers. Let me show you a quick example of that while I'm here. So if I'm on this activity and I want to put a comment there, so let's put a little message on here. We'll put a message with a comment. We'll say, let's not do an error, we'll do a checked. So this part is ready to go. This work is ready to be delivered. So you kind of put this comment. This is what a collaborator is going to do. So now when I hover on that, you can see the message I just typed in. This work is ready to be delivered. So people can share information by using these markers, and that's controlled again by security as far as who has access to be able to go in there and do that. Now the scheduler, who's the person that does the visual drag and drop, they can do any of that. They can certainly put in the marker changes, they can edit the markers, they can make schedule changes and so forth. So that's what the scheduler does. And then the last of the 4 steps is once you're satisfied with the schedule, it's time to publish. So you publish the plan to your Dynamics jobs or service orders. Okay, and you simply go to the planning tab and select publish is all you do. So I think I've got a picture of it here. Yeah, it's an older picture, but let's just do it live. So there's basically 4 tabs that and think in terms of learning curve. You've got to learn these 4 tabs. You've got planning, you've got display, which I showed you a little bit about the months and dates, and you've got the actions. I showed you the move action already. I'll show you a couple others in a minute. And then filter, so that you could filter this list to show just certain things. But what we want to do, the final step here, is to publish. And remember, I made a few changes up here. I dragged some things around to different people and different times. And so I'm happy with this schedule, and then I hit publish. What the publish does, it says, are you sure you really want to publish the plan? Yes, I do. So it is now going to go and take all of the data and send it into a special table in NAV called the Planner 1 Activity Table. Holds all this. Holds it there, and now you can do reporting off of it. You can create flow fields into it. You can, do all sorts of things with this data. And so I'll show you some samples of things that we've done with it to kind of enhance the usability with the software. Okay, let's go back to our handout. All right. So let me before we actually, I do want to ask you guys a question here, but I want to bring this little diagram up on screen and just see if I can't describe this just a little bit. Yeah. So with your jobs and resource planner, when they combine, your left side is your accounting, where you have jobs, your job tasks, and your job planning lines. We sent the planning line, each individual planning line, to the planning board. That's what it's doing. It's sending the planning line, each of them. That's why I was talking about that count. Are we talking 1,000 planning lines, 10,000 planning lines? How many planning lines do you have? That is going to get sent over here to the planning board, and that's where you can edit, move things around, reschedule, whatever, and then you publish, which is, you saw me do hit the publish button. So that sends it to this activity table. So there's a planning data stored in the NAV activity table. And from that table, you can write reports, you can do flow fields, you can look up information on your resource masters, your jobs, your task list, all throughout the software to actually view that information. So I think that's pretty important. And before I kind of show you some examples of this display, let me do a real quick poll here. I'll just kind of, before I ramble on too much, I want to make sure you feel that the degree of difficulty has not been too bad. So tell me, and you have to grab your mouse. Just so the way this works, you see the poll up there on your screen. You just click it and let me know whether you think it's easy, whether you think it's hard, or you think it's much easier and you thought it would be than you thought it would be, or much harder than you thought it would be, or if this is not for you, let me know that too. Okay, and it's okay if it's not for you and you want to drop off the call. I do understand, because this has got to be appropriate for your business. Okay, we got 86% voting. Thank you very much. So let's kind of share this back, see what people are saying. We've got 50% of you saying it's easy. 17% are saying it's hard. That's a bad thing. 17% says much easier than you thought it would be. So I guess I'm going to take 67% of you say it's easy. We got a few people saying it's hard, and we got a couple people that are dropping off. And that's part of the reason I do these sessions, is because I only, if this software is not what you were expecting it to be, you got to know that. Okay, but if it is what you were thinking it would be, I'm happy, and I want you to certainly contact me at least after the session, and maybe we do a one-on-one session with your business. Okay, so where does the data go? So the published results can be viewed in 3 different levels on the job site. And that's in something we've created, this little job manager. We call it our feature pack for Resource Planner. And let me just bring this up for you live so you can kind of see what's happening. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'll just go through these 3 views. Let's go first to the job list. So I'm going to open up my order jobs. And so here's the job we just put in. And if I scroll down on this fact boxes, you see it right here, scheduling fact box. Let me bring this up a little higher. Scheduling fact box. So the scheduled hours for this job is 280. And its scheduled start date is 12/5/15. That's why I had a hard time finding it. I didn't pay close enough attention to the actual dates. And then the scheduled ending date is 1/27/16, is where it got positioned on the planning board. So that's what we call our scheduling fact box. You can also see the information here in the scheduled view. So I'm looking at the job. If I scroll to the right, let's come down here, scroll to the right, you'll see now the rest of this information's filled in, but a lot more detail. So now I've got my scheduled hours per task. So for cutting, for machining, and of course it's going to correspond to the initial estimate of hours unless the scheduler has made some changes. So if the scheduler makes changes and drags and drops activity around, then that's going to come back with a different dates based on what the scheduler has said. Same for down in the lower window. Let's see here. Did I switch Doug? Okay, so we started this activity with Doug, and then did I switch it? I didn't. Okay, so if the scheduler reassigned this work activity, which is engineering CAD, to somebody else, then their name is going to appear here. You'll see this is the original person that the estimator put in, and now over here on the right side is who the scheduler has assigned that work to. Okay, so that's coming through on the planning line details. And these are, by the way, are all drillable. And so if I want to drill down on those 20 hours, I can see the time that has been sent. And this is in that Planner 1 activity table is where it is drilling down into. Okay, and then the another place that is seen is actually on the planning lines. And I showed you, oh, that's where I was. Okay, so down here is on the planning lines, and you can see that it's showing who is currently assigned. So it shows up several different places, and I think it shows up on the resource card as well. So on Doug's resource card, it would show there as well. And then also on service orders. So if you're on a service order and want to view where it's assigned, so here's service orders. Let's just edit this service order for those of you in the mindset of service management. There is something called line allocations. This allocations is kind of been pushed from the Planner 1 side into this allocation window, and it shows based on their calendar. Doug's probably a Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day, so it's 8 and 2 hours. That's the total of the 10 hours on that activity on this particular job service order. Okay, so that's where that is shown from the publish. That's from the publish command. Okay, time for one more quick poll, if you'd be so kind. I'm always curious to know how you schedule now. So do you schedule with pen and paper? Do you use a whiteboard? Do you use Excel? Do you use Resource Planner? Every once in a while I get people on the call that actually are using Resource Planner. So grab your mouse and just click up there if you would and say how you're scheduling now or how your clients might be scheduling. If you're a reseller, how your clients or prospective customers might be scheduling. God, we need 2 more people to vote, please, please, please. Click, click, click. Oh, good. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'll share this back, and this is very typical results here. 80% of you say use Excel. Very typical to use Excel, but it's very standalone. There's no integration to your job system like you've seen here. And 20% say we don't, but we need to, which is good as well. So hopefully you're kind of catching on to this concept of being able to schedule all electronically and fully integrated. I think the other side that's extremely important here is that we're not rekeying information into Excel. We're taking all the job information and service management information that you've already got in your NAV and putting it right into the planning board. Okay, so very, very important to have that connection. Okay, so that's the degree of difficulty. Understood that. Covered that. Okay, so I'd like to do just a little bit of what I call planning board review. So what kind of information is on this planning board? And how do you read the Gantt chart, left side, top side, highlight options, the time scale? So I kind of just give you a little tour of the planning board because everybody kind of wants to know, how's this thing work? And so I just give you a little orientation here. Let me just kind of buzz down through the list. So let's open the board up one more time. And I'm hoping I'm not going too fast, and you're kind of catching on to how this thing works. And I'm hoping that you'll go, hey, Rick, I really want to use this in our business as well. So that's, that's hopefully the reason you're here for today's session. Okay, there's four main tabs. The planning tabs where I did the publish, I just did that. The display pad is where you can set it by week or by month, whatever details you want to see for each of the activities. That's, some of you may have activities as short as a few hours. Others may takes weeks to do certain activities. I've got one customer that schedules his staff all over the world, and when they go out on site, they go for 2 or 3 months at a time. So these stickers are quite long in duration when that person is out there on site doing whatever it is that they do. Okay, and then the actions, the move command, the ability to open and close periods is all here, and then to be able to filter the list down to, so if you just want to see your developers or you just want to see your laborers or your painters, you could apply a filter here, and then that's all that would show up on the screen. So it just kind of depends how you want to view the information. In fact, it looked like, yeah, no, okay. Okay, so that's, and then the colors. Now these colors, let's see if I can get a few more to show up here on the board. Yeah. Now my dates are kind of, way out in the past, so, but I think you'll get the idea. These colors do mean things. So here on the display, right now they are by job. So this is, now they're by job, sorry. These are by job. So these green ones are all, so 5022, 5022, those are all the same jobs. These green ones out here, same job, same job. So it basically lets you group or see them by individual jobs. You may want to see it by customer. So you could say, well, I want to see all the jobs that are assigned to a particular customer there in blue, and you can even colorize and have certain customer specific colors as well. So you can group it by color. You can have your own color scheme, and you can see, and we'll see how this looks, what's called advanced delay. This is are my activities on time. And you'll see if there were some dark greens, and I don't show any in this quadrant, if they were dark greens, but I do have some light greens there. So it's still on time, and it's less than 10 days from the due date of this work. The yellows are getting a little more critical. The oranges are fairly critical. And if we had any reds showing on the screen, it would be, they would be actually quite late. And, but we're really in pretty good shape on this. Let me see if I've got any reds. Not seeing any. Okay, but they would show up. That means all my jobs are right on time, so that's actually a good thing. Okay, let's go back to the job view. So we have them colored by job. So that's kind of the little bit on the color option. The drag and drop, you saw me basically go into the action here where it's move. Oftentimes people assign work to a labor pool and then eventually take a particular activity out of there and assign it to a particular individual. So I want to assign this to Ralph for that period of time. So I'm able to just very quickly drag and drop activities to do my assignments. Now you can also double click an activity and change the assignment here. So this is another way to switch. So if I want to assign this one to Doug, I can just click and say, okay, Doug, and it will move it out of here and move it all the way up to wherever Doug's position was up here, right in here. So there's the activity we just moved. So several ways to move things around on the planning board. Now, when you hover over a sticker, I call these things stickers, you get this little pop-up that tells you more information. You can only put so much information on the sticker. That's the it's pretty maxed out. So it has this little pop-up which indicates more information about it, or over here on the right side, there's an area called indicators and details, which also shows and changes depending on the sticker that you're on. It shows the job description, the earliest start date, the due dates, lots of good information about each activity, the tasks, and the information from the planning line. So it all can show up that way as well. So that's just called indicators and details. The time scale, you saw me change the time scale and the filters, so you can apply some filters to these views as well. And one thing that I really like to show about here, and we'll just pick on one of these activities, see if this works. So I can do a reassignment a couple of different ways. So I can come in here and from Doug, I can reassign it to somebody else. But for those of you that are into service management, you may want a mapping scenario. You may want to be able to see, let's see if I can open this up a little bit. You may want to see your people compared to where the job is on a map. So here's the indication. So depending on, so here's Linda. Where's Linda located? So you can basically map your work activity very visually and say, okay, well, I'm going to use Linda now, and then I assign that resource, and it puts Linda in here from the map, and moves the sticker from there down to Linda's down wherever Linda was. There she is down here. So it moves the sticker down there. So it's doing a reassignment, but via a map. Now, the one nice thing with this concept of the map is also, I'll do one more thing with this map, is you'll notice service zone. This work is all in service zone M, like Midwest, or North, or South, or East. And so I want to only assign technicians that are in a particular service zone. So it filters the list for me. Or I can filter the list based on skills. So if this person is a welder or knows how to read Spanish or French or something like that, then you can assign skills and further filter your list. If I remove all of the filters, then this is all of my technicians that I could potentially assign to this work. But you can, basically filter your technicians down to a specific group based on the service zone, the skill, or the distance. Maybe we want to find somebody very close to where that service call is located. So that's the advantage of using the mapping tools within the software. And this applies probably more to the people that have technicians out in the field that are doing that type of work. Okay, so let's go back to the study guide. I want to see if there's anything else I want to mention here. Actions, view from the job card. Okay, so one thing else I do want to show before we summarize here is from the job, when you set up a new job, this Gantt view can also be displayed from the job itself. Here's the one we just put in, 100307. Let's open up the job card on that, and let's just take a quick peek. And let this open up. So here's the job card, and on the job card, when you purchase the Planner One software, you get a Planner One Resource Planner tab. And if I open that tab up, you'll see the Gantt view is filtered for this particular job, all automatically. So here's the different assignments that are currently assigned, and it lets me see it right here within your NAV software. So you don't even have to open up the planning board. You can see the activities for this particular job. I think this is really nice right here within within your NAV software. So being able to view that Gantt view, I think that's pretty important process as well. Okay, let's go back to our outline, see if we've got anything else I want to mention. So I did show you the jobs and service orders. That's the job Gantt view. There's also what's called a resource load view, where you can see the capacity and the time allocations for each person. These stickers can go red on these days if they are overbooked. So it gives you a kind of a histogram of workload per employee. There's also a resource sequence. I did not cover this. I'm not going to have time to do this one today, but you can just change the who's assigned and then see all of their individual work, kind of a task list display. There's also a calendar view if you want to see the operations in more like a wall calendar. That's available, and you can synchronize this with your Microsoft Outlook. I think that's important as well. And I did show this already, which is the skills management and the mapping function to select the appropriate skilled resource to go on a particular job or service order. Okay, before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you to do one more quick poll. This doesn't take but just a second. So grab your mouse one last time, if you would, please, 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 and let me know what is your favorite feature based on what you have seen so far. Is it, oh, did I launch this? Oh, there you go. It's easier if you have the buttons. So is it the job planning lines to the planning board, how that works, the ability to see the resource sequence, the ability to edit the Gantt chart, that's pretty important, calendar view integration with Microsoft Outlook, or the mapping feature? Did you like the mapping feature for your field technicians? We need 2 more people to vote. Click, click, click. There we go. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's close the poll, and we'll share this back with you and show you what people said. So 25% say the job planning lines automatically going to the planning board. That's important to eliminate that Microsoft Excel, because you're taking what you've already got in your jobs and putting that onto the planning board. 50% like the ability to edit the Gantt chart with a simple drag and drop, and then probably publish. I should have put publish in there, but being able to send those changes back to your NAV software. Again, no Excel. And then the last one, we had 25% say the mapping feature for the field technicians. You liked that as well. So good job. Thanks for sharing your feedback on that. So let me do a quick summary here for you. Is it does use web services, so it uses the web services portion of your NAV software. I think you saw that it's pretty quick and easy to use. Graphical planning, I think it's easy to understand when it's graphical like this. Okay, fully integrated. There's nothing else that you've got to install the software and then it just works. It works right out of the box. So it builds the integration automatically and then it just runs. So it's really simple to get this thing up and going very quickly. Some of the key functionality, it's certainly bi-directional. I think that's important, and the visualization is important, and managing and scheduling any exceptions. I didn't have a chance to show that. For the pricing, everybody says, well, how much is this? How much is this software? Well, I want you to download our price catalog if you don't have that, or send me an email and I'll get you a quote. If you would like a quotation to show to your boss or something like that, I'd be glad to put together a more formal quotation than just a price catalog. But either way, we'd certainly like to get you involved. How do you buy it? You simply call me. And I think most of you have the my phone number, or call Ben, and let's set up a time to kind of review your particular application and needs and how you might use this software, and I'll help you price this software out. So you definitely just need to give me a call. Your next step, pretty simple. Set up a company-specific presentation with your data, not mine. This is really important. People understand this software a whole lot better when you're using your data, not seeing it with my data. Okay, your tasks, not my tasks. So let's set up a presentation so that we can get that done. I'm going to put my contact information up here. Again, my name is Rick Baxter. I'm with Cost Control Software coming to you live today from Carmel, Indiana. There's my phone number. There's my email. Most of you have my contact information. I hope you will reach out to us, and we'll certainly follow up with you as well. And hope you've enjoyed the session. And thank you very much for attending today. Have a great day.